The World Economic Forum met quite recently and discussed matters pertaining to AI in Davos. And so the IBM CEO mentioned that generative AI specifically was going to experience a 40% increase in terms of coding productivity by 2030. And this is very interesting because it seems that AI in terms of news and tools are everywhere nowadays. And it's only going to increase in terms of complex AI tools and then their utility for just literally every facet of life that we have over the next 5 to 10 years. And so there are two camps when it comes to the AI train of thought, so to speak. The first camp are the doomsayers and the naysayers that say that we should halt the AI research and that AI is going to be the doom of humanity. On that side, you have big CEO tech giants, like for example, there's one at Google, I believe, or at least like the equivalent of like a very high level professional in that company that says that AI in general will be the doom of humanity if we let it be like uncontrolled in terms of development. And then in the other camp, you have individuals like, for example, Sam Altman at OpenAI, if I'm getting his name right, that said that AI is the future. And he encourages a very tempered approach when it comes to the development of AI. So they're spending a ton of money on, for example, safeguards that could be built in, and then also proper development. Quite recently, the EU, the European Union, passed a very comprehensive AI bill that puts a lot of safeguards and security measures in place to ensure the ethical development of AI tools. And we'll get into the misuse of AI tools probably in a later video. And so those are the two camps of thought. And here's my perspective on the whole AI argument. So AI is here to stay. As soon as ChatGPT took the internet by storm in 2019, 2020, you could immediately tell that AI was going to be like the next trend. And so you see it quite clearly right now with OpenAI having so much venture capital money coming from Microsoft, Google. You have video game companies that are investing massive amounts into AI development for video games. Heck, even the military and the US government are starting to realize the potential of AI when it comes to drones and when it comes to national security, and are investing a lot of money into becoming essentially the next leader in AI. And so the scary part is that AI is essentially the next Cold War, or the next war, so to speak, in terms of technological advancement between nations across the planet. We had the space war, or the space race, as it's called, where NASA landed the first man on the moon or something like that. And now it's the AI race, for lack of a better term, to see who can develop the latest generative AI that's capable of thinking on its own. That's called a supercomputer AI from like all the research that I was doing. It's cool, but it's also very scary at the same time, because if you think about it, in 5 to 10 years, the rate of development for AI tools and its improvement is going to be so exponential compared to what we have today. Our facets of everyday life will change. That's what everyone is predicting. 5 to 10 years might be a conservative or maybe an optimistic estimate. I'm not sure. But from what I've seen so far, 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, so 5 to 20 is a total. Our lives will potentially have the capacity to change with all these tools that are coming out. But therein lies the problem that I'll go into a little bit later as well. And so you have all these AI tools that are out there, and you have all this money that's being put into AI research, AI skills, AI certifications. And so my perspective is this: to potentially survive what's going to come into the future, you need to at least have like a basic understanding of how to use these AI tools. And you don't need to be a master at this unless you're in the tech industry and you need to know this for your job. But as a hobby that turns into an interest, you should keep up to date with these AI tools, because AI is here to stay and it's just going to get more complex in the future. So what's happening right now is the tech industry is having a lot of layoffs, and you can go into detail about like economic boom cycles and like hiring practices, and that's not what this video is about. The point is that these AI tools potentially are indirectly responsible for a lot of the tech layoffs that are happening. And that's a very bold claim, but a lot of the AI tools that are coming out nowadays are directly potentially threatening, let's say, like artists with like generative AI or basic coding apparatus skills that you can learn by searching up lessons on YouTube, for example, that might threaten, let's say, junior developer software positions. So a lot of what's happening right now with the fear associated with AI is that it'll take your jobs and you'll be laid off because there's an AI tool that can do your job faster, better, and just cheaper, honestly. It's sad to think about it that way, but profits are how companies are run. That's how the free market / capitalism system works. You don't need a basic crash course in economics to know that. And at the end of the day, companies care more about profit than they do their own employees. That's just the sad part. You look at Meta, you look at Google, you look at, heck, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Like, they'll lay you off without a second thought, and they might even lay you off on Christmas. It's a bad joke. But my point is this, is that you'd better learn how to stay on top of these AI tools and monitor potential uses for it that could augment your own life, both professionally in your day job and also in your hobbies as well. And so we'll get to a couple of examples of how I use AI as a content creator. And no, it's not some clickbaity thing where I'm going to say like, I produce 3 months of content in, an hour for, that can last me 3 months. No, it's not going to be like that. These are direct examples that I use to automate certain systems that I have in place and also to just kind of streamline operational efficiency. So, for example, I use ChatGPT to come up with newsletter titles for the various issues that I publish on a weekly basis for Embassy Life in DC. I lack the imaginative capacity to come up with 30 titles in a second, so I use ChatGPT to come up with a bunch of titles, and then I'll pick the best one, or maybe the best like 4, put them in an Instagram poll, and then the community responds with which one they like. So that's an example. There's Midjourney and Canva. So I use Midjourney for inspiration. I use it for image generation to see if I could design something pretty cool, and then using Canva, which I also pay for with their pro membership, would highly recommend that, by the way. Canva is awesome. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. I use Canva to design a lot of the carousel posts and also a lot of the longer form content that I do for my newsletter. And so Canva invested pretty heavily in their own AI tools. Like I mentioned before, AI is everywhere. If you don't see a company doing any AI research, then they might be lagging behind. So Canva has a bunch of AI tools where, let's say, for example, you can remove the background, or you can take a small piece of an image and then change that, like to say from, sea to desert on an image without having to destroy the whole thing. It's pretty cool. So Canva, Midjourney, ChatGPT. Behave, which is the platform that I use for my newsletter, has an inbuilt AI tool that potentially can write your newsletter for you. However, there's a caveat to that, because from what I've seen with other people that have very specific niche newsletters, like let's say you're a Wall Street broker and you write about stocks, it can't obviously write like what the NASDAQ index is going to say tomorrow for a certain company without being more sufficiently advanced. So it's good for spitting a generic format for like a newsletter, but at the same time, it's a little bit limited. So just take that with a grain of salt. And so there are other AI tools that I do use, but they're not really cool examples. I just kind of play around with them just for fun. There is Claude AI that I use to distill essential summaries for scientific papers for my research that I do. So if you don't have time to read a 300-page scientific research, or let's be honest, the will to do so, because a lot of that is very dry academic jargony stuff that I don't really want to dive into, Claude AI can summarize it for you in 3 bullet points, the main summary. So it's very useful. So those are some real life examples of how I use AI in my content creation / research hobbies that I do on the side. And so where I'm going with this, with the challenge for you specifically, the person that's watching this video, which I thank you for, by the way, like and subscribe for more topics. I hate doing that so much, but apparently from what the comments have been saying in my YouTube videos, that is the best way to make sure the channel grows. So like and subscribe as we cover more relevant topics, including artificial intelligence, which is pretty fascinating. So where I'm going with this is I directly challenge you, and it doesn't matter if you're not the most tech savvy person in the world, because there's a spectrum. There's people that don't like technology to people that spend every waking minute on it, myself included. So I challenge you to stay up to date with AI news. And then by extension, you can find out about tools as they come out. And then if one catches your interest, you can just play around with it. If you get really interested, you can take a course, let's say, in generative AI or learn how a language learning model works. These are skills, and this is just me being real. These are skills that are going to take priority in the next 5 to 10 years. 5 to 20 years, whatever, it doesn't matter. You will need to learn how to write a prompt effectively in order to produce an image or get an AI tool to write an essay. It doesn't matter. Prompt writing is going to be a skill that a lot of people are going to be hiring for in the next couple of years. And at the same time, if you can boost your resume with AI courses that you find online, don't pay for a lot of like the courses that are out there. Like take free, like there are AI courses that are being taught for free by Google, I think by Harvard, the business school, and stuff like that as well. Just do a search, you'll find it. And the thing is that like if you can boost your resume with these skills and also ensure that you have a solid understanding of how most AI tools can work, you don't have to be a genius in this stuff, but it's better to have it than none, because the layoffs keep on coming in the tech industry right now. There are going to be more layoffs in the future as these AI tools get smarter, because let's be honest, the rate of technological development, if you haven't been like living under a rock, you can see this. It's been increasing exponentially. Like the doubling period for technological development, if you look at like the human timeline from when the iPhone first came out to what we have now, from like I don't know, that was 2004 to like now, it's insane and also potentially scary. So it's best to arm yourself with the knowledge to obviously make sure that you have a job and ensure that you can survive in this ever-changing world that seems to change by the day now, or which is crazy. So there are a couple of YouTube channels that I follow that I would recommend to you to also follow as well. I'm in no way affiliated with them. I'd be surprised if they even knew who I was. They don't. One YouTube channel that I follow is Dan Wolfe, I believe his name is. And let me double check that really quickly. Matt Wolfe. I'm sorry, Matt Wolfe. So Matt Wolfe is probably one of the best AI channels out there for just news in general. I don't know his background specifically, but he seems to have worked in the tech industry for a long time, because the man keeps on going to conferences. He understands AI tools and can summarize them like that, which is crazy. So Matt Wolfe is the name of his YouTube channel. There's also another YouTube channel that I discovered called Tina Huang, and I apologize if I'm getting the last name wrong. She is a metadata scientist that produces a lot of very interesting content when it comes to coding. And I know you're going to say like, oh my God, you just said that AI tools are going to take over most coding jobs. Okay, sure, maybe. But at the same time, coding is also human intuition at the same time. There are many limiting things that AI can't do when it comes to coding. Yeah, it can produce a basic script. But anyway, that's a different story. But Tina Huang, if that's the way that you pronounce her last name, is a very great YouTube channel for following a lot of AI related news, but she does a very interesting spin on it where she does like these lunch and learns, which is pretty interesting. I watched a couple of them myself, and I don't have the same background she does, so it's a little bit beyond my technical expertise. But it's very interesting just to hear the way she frames her thoughts about AI and the tools that are coming out. So, Matt Wolfe and then Tina Huang, for YouTube channels that you should follow to keep up to date with AI tools. And then the tools that I can't recommend any specific tools for you to use aside from, the usual stuff, like for example, ChatGPT, like, that's a staple since like 2019 to 2020 when it took the world by storm. But I can also recommend some that, just I use and you might find them useful. So ChatGPT for writing and title generation, Claude AI for scientific paper distillment when it comes to essential topics and just maybe complicated articles. Midjourney for image generation. I use it more for inspiration. I don't really use it too much for like image generation that I use like in my products or anything like that. I personally am a little bit against that, but to each their own. And then Canva has their own AI tools that can produce that as well with generative AI. So those are a couple of tools that might be useful for you to use. Keep up to date with those YouTube channels. Like and subscribe again, as dumb as that sounds. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.